This might look like the opening scene of a horror film, but it is in fact morning, and I did choose to get into this car, and so we're heading now to Rome's Fiumicino Airport for my flight up to London. I'm flying British Airways today, and my final destination is actually Dublin, but I'm transiting through London and Edinburgh, because you gotta get those BA flight segments from somewhere, or at least until they just turn the whole program upside down. Today's video though is just covering the bit to London Heathrow for the penultimate entry into my Routes and Hub series. I'll pick up where I left off later next week, but I thought it would be fitting to end this whole series with a first class flight out of Heathrow, so that's what we're going to see in the next trip report. All of my experiences flying out of Fiumicino have always been to non-Schengen regions, and for those flights at least, the airport excels really nicely. Before we get into any of that though, let me welcome any of you that may be new to the channel. My name is Kevin, and I am the Flip Flop Traveler. I'm a full-time creator with an eye to the sky and the beach, and I enjoy my flip-flops nearly as much as I enjoy being honest and unclickbaity in my self-funded videos. If you'd like to know more about the channel or me, scan the QR code or click the link in the description. Have a look around the channel. There are hundreds of airline and hotel reviews to enjoy. This less than imperial flight experience begins now. Apparently, at around 2.5 hours prior to departure, I got to the airport way too early, and it's deserted. But that made for a very pleasant experience checking in and then getting through security. Especially compared to the security mayhem that I experienced later today that almost made me miss one of my flights, Italy really does do security very well from their main hubs. Leave everything in, line keeps moving, plenty of places to repack. It's like drinking a Campari soda. It's beautiful to look at, and the experience is almost pleasant. I'm going to head to my favorite Priority Pass lounge, and along the way, we're going to talk about just a bit of context since Rome was certainly a part of the air routes that changed the world back in the 20s and 30s. In 1924, Imperial Airways, the predecessor to the predecessor of British Airways, was established, encouraging the merger of 4 small airlines with a £1 million subsidy to create an airline large enough to compete with the flag carriers of France and Germany. As the name suggests, Imperial Airways was quite imperial. The name of the game was supporting the empire by cutting down on travel times. In 1926, they began flight surveying missions to Cape Town, India, and Australia. Within 5 years, the first experimental mail route from London to Sydney took off, and 26 days later, despite, a little crash landing in Timor, the mission was accomplished. Imperial Airways worked in cooperation with Qantas Empire Airways for years before traveling the full route on their own, generally with around 12 stops along the way. For much more detail about the origins of the route, I'd suggest checking out my Australia videos from a few months ago. All the while, British Airways' namesake callsign Speedbird began to take to the skies. The Speedbird logo was introduced in 1932 and flew throughout BOAC's tenure. The Plaza Premium Lounge here in Rome just hits differently. It's big, airy, has great food, loads of seating options, and just generally feels a bit classier than any other Plaza Premium Lounge that I've been to before. In 1939, Imperial Airways merged with British Airways, a different one, and formed BOAC, which continued to build their massive presence across the globe. In 1974, BOAC merged with British European Airways and 2 small regional carriers to form the modern-day British Airways, who, if I may be so bold, killed the Speedbird in 1984, replacing it with the Speed Wing, and later replacing that with the current mark, the Speed Mark, in 1997. Note though that this is a fancy Speed Mark, and that's why it's spelled with a Q. Now, British Airways' parent company, IAG, is the 3rd largest airline group on Earth after a merger with Iberia in 2011. The group also owns Aer Lingus, Level, and Vueling, giving the group a total of 582 aircraft, 284 of which belong to BA. Terminal 3, where we are now, is bright and modern and pretty easy to navigate, and finally as the sun came up, we were able to get some views of ITA's beautiful livery. If you're enjoying the video and want to see more, please go ahead and click that like button, and more importantly, subscribe. If you're looking for lots more information about my travel in general, weekly posts, advanced itineraries, travel advice and the like, or just want to show your support for the channel, I'd invite you to check out my Patreon or YouTube channel memberships. Boarding began around 10 minutes ahead of schedule, but was painfully slow, caring for each individual group with a precious gemstone precision. Today's flight would be operated by an 18-year-old A319. Stepping on board, I was greeted, and at first appearance, everything looked fine and seemed to be in good shape. And everything was in good shape, generally speaking, but this older version of their seats, they're near comically short. I mean, we all know what economy is like, but there's something disarming and a bit uncomfortable to me when these older style seats are just so low. You just feel so exposed. Like, I was aware that I would need to rub shoulders with someone, but I wasn't prepared for 112 people to be able to look at the back of my head. It's a small thing, but it's a thing. As we were in the front half of the plane, most of these rows were equipped to be able to be converted into Eurobusiness style seats if need be, with the center seat converting into a table. Each of the middle seats has a hole up top so they can also mount the partition, which is used to make business class feel oh so exclusive. Except, of course, there were no partitions at all, and this was the saddest example of a business class that I think I've ever seen. So we also had the pleasure of staring at the back of every business class passenger's head for 2 hours. It's not that I like Euro-style business class, but I think it has its merits in some regards and generally don't mind it. But if I was on this plane, in business, I'm not sure I'd be too pleased for paying for the pleasure. Especially if I knew that half of the middle seats in the back of the plane were empty. Despite what felt like a slow boarding process, we finished boarding around 20 minutes ahead of pushback. Then we sat at the gate for 65 minutes. This is where my day began to unravel a little bit. Since my connections today, both of them, were under 2 hours each. Luckily, within minutes of getting the delay announcement here, I also got a notification that my second flight was delayed, which certainly did not help me in Edinburgh. And now a brief public service announcement. If you're sharing a row of 3 seats with a single stranger, do not unilaterally put your bag under the empty seat the nanosecond the "all passengers on board" announcement is announced. And then don't further refuse to turn your second underseat bag on its side so the space can be shared. A simple "would you mind" goes a long way. Proof that even if you can buy fake Gucci, you still can't buy class or common sense. A straight shot out to the sea and a turn north, keeping the coastline in sight. Now, I won't say that I enjoy budget cuts at airlines of all kinds, leading to having no meals on flights like this one, but I don't mind it, in the sense that I'd rather pay $10 and get something of my choosing, rather than be handed a small box of stodgy vegetarian pasta. But that doesn't really work if you don't offer buy on board, which is just strange to me. Like, do you not want to make money? No? All that was on offer was a bottle of water and an oat bite bar. I've generally found BA crews to be pretty good in the past, but today's was simply disinterested in being on board, and it showed. There's not much to say about it. They were just a bit of a miserable bunch. The clouds are pretty though, no? Around 2 hours into the flight, while over northern France, we began our descent into London Heathrow.
Cabin crew doors to manual and cross checks.
Prior to today, I had British Airways around an 8, but I think we're going to drop down to a 6. And that is that. In YouTube world, my next flight video is a very, very special one to me. Flying the product that originally got me interested in all of this stuff 20 plus years ago just by looking at it. So what today's video lacks in pizzazz, the next one will surely make up for it. So I do hope that you enjoyed this quick trip report today. If you did, please be sure to click that like button and subscribe with notifications on so you don't miss out on my twice weekly videos. I'll see you next time from Cabo.